Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all doing well. I've got something brand new and exciting to show you from Let's Resin. Well, I've had this about a month. I've just been trying to work out what I'm going to do with it. This is their Black Epoxy Resin, like black epoxy resin, already black, like so exciting. Bubble free, crystal clear, except we can't see through it, but trust me, no bubbles. Self-leveling, kind of normal 2-part epoxy resin, only it's black already. So the instructions are work time up to 40 or 50 minutes and it's measurable 1:1 by volume. Now, the most exciting thing about this is that whenever you use black for, let's say, flowers, or what I'm going to be doing in this video is using black as a background color, it's just ready made. It's there to go and it's absolutely perfect for the job. Now, this is what it looks like. Part A is black, part B is clear, part A is the resin, part B is the hardener, and you just have to mix them together and make sure that you do that properly. The tray I'm using is the round tray mold from Moulds and Shapes. Of course, everything for that is linked below, and of course, Let's Resin is linked below as well. Now, my first initial thought was this would be perfect for your Chameleon powder work. So whenever we use Chameleon powders, it's often recommended that you use black as a background as it makes the powders pop. However, I did want to go down a different route. I didn't just want to stick to what I thought I was going to do in the first place, which was use the Chameleon powders in that sense. I really wanted to use it to its full potential, you know, use the black resin as a standalone resin and not just hide it up with the Chameleon powders. Now, you see me here, I did get the weighing scales out and then I was like, wait, I'm sure it said volume, which of course it did. So yeah, I double checked, put my scales away and I got my calibrated cup out. Now, this calibrated cup has all the numbers on the side, so I'm simply going to pour 120 of part A and 120 of part B. That will pretty much fill this cup. Now, another little tip, if you are new to resin, a lot of resin bottles come with these kind of clip lids. You just have to pop them out. Make sure you are covering that fully when you do this, just in case anything splashes. You definitely don't want to be splashing this stuff around. So here we are, into my calibrated cup. I'm just pouring up to the 120 mark with part A or part B, and then, yeah, up to 240 with the other part. Now, here's the thing. When it comes to a normal clear epoxy resin, you can see as you are mixing, you can see those two parts coming together. It's quite clear. When you start mixing epoxy resin, if you are new to resin, if you're here and you're brand new to resin, when you start mixing clear epoxy resin, it goes very cloudy, very glue-like. There's lots of lovely little swirly patterns in there and you can see it. But the more you mix it, the clearer it becomes. And visually you can see when it's completely done. You don't get the luxury of that with this because obviously it's already black. So my advice would be stir for 5 minutes. I always stir for 5 minutes anyway, even if the instructions say 3. I just feel like for my own peace of mind and to eliminate anything going wrong, I always stir for 5. Scrape those edges and scrape the bottom of your cup like your life depends on it, because as I say, it's black. We don't know what's going on in there, so just do your best. Now, I had already cleaned this tray, but my room is a crazy dust magnet, and of course silicone attracts all of the things. So just before I poured my black, I did have to quickly give it another clean with some tape. Tape is the best way to get out debris from a mold and or old resin from a mold. We definitely don't want to be putting our molds in hot soapy water and have that resin pour down the sink. That is what we don't want. So sellotape all the way, guys. Now, this was 240, as I said, 120A, 120B, and it was pretty much perfect to coat and line the bottom of this tray. Of course, I don't want to fill it up at this point because I got plans. I just scraped the cup and made sure that that was all in there. Now, on the box, it does say bubble free. How are we gonna know it's bubble free? Well, if you are a resin user or you're new to resin, bubbles will rise to the surface. So you will automatically see a ton of bubbles lift up, even though it's black. And I can honestly say I probably saw 1 or 2 main bubbles. So it pretty much is a bubble-free crystal clear resin. However, I still used my heat gun And then I noticed all of this dust decided to fly on over and join me over here. So I did a quick scoop out of all of the dust using a cocktail stick, and then I covered it with this. This is a Pound Shop microwavable dish, and it's got holes all around the outside perimeter of the dish, and it was perfect. Guys, I saw this image. And this was not only up my street, but it lends itself to that black epoxy, that kind of darker, more gothic and macabre side of Valentine's. Now, if anyone said to me, Claire, what is your definition of love? Put love in a definition for me. I would say weeding. Weeding vinyl. If I am willing to weed this vinyl, which was so detailed and intricate, then it means I love you, okay? Now, this style of vinyl, this Cricut detail is right up my street, and I know that Tim is gonna love it. Tim loves all things skulls, so I knew that this was gonna be absolutely perfect. Now, it took me around about an hour and a half, don't laugh, to weed this detail. I mean, each and every rib, each and every kind of finger bone. It was a lot, guys. It was a lot. I'm not a lover. I'm not a lover of a weed. But yes, here we are. This is the next day. The resin is cured enough for vinyl. It's not quite 24 hours yet. It's cured enough for vinyl. But if I lift the tray up, it's slightly bendy. So again, it's a 24 to fully 48-hour cure resin. And yeah, it's time to put the vinyl down. I absolutely love this so much. I mean, if you've been with me through Halloween's, you'll know that this is my vibe. This is absolutely up my street. And if I was to kind of give you an idea of what my style is when it comes to Valentine's, again, this is it. Like, this is definitely it. I'm definitely more of a this kind of style Valentine's girl than I am love hearts, although I have got a lot of love heart videos coming up and I am absolutely in love with them. But this is what the vinyl is looking like. Super cool. I am using my Tech Wrap vinyl, which I bought myself, by the way, my Tech Wrap vinyl firm transfer tape. I always have problems with transfer tapes. The Tech Wrap vinyl firm, honestly, the second you lay it down on your vinyl, it's like you don't even need to press it. It automatically picks up the vinyl. Of course, I still do rub it and press it, but it's amazing transfer tape. Purchased myself, but I am a Tech Wrap affiliate as well, so all of that is down below in the description box. I love the stuff. This is what we're looking like. Now, I did want to add a little something I knew already. As soon as I saw this on the Cricut Design Space, I already knew I wanted it to say, "Love you to death." Because how romantic is that? How romantic is it that we're looking at skeletons saying "I love you to death"? I just love this aesthetic. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. And I'm not sure how many times I can say absolutely in a video. I must work on that. So up the top, I went into the Design Space and I created a circle that was the same diameter as the circle mold. And I just wanted to make sure that I curved the font at the top and at the bottom so that it curves around and then curves under on the to death. I think I messed up the T on this. It doesn't look right to me, but equally I'm not about to go back and use more vinyl to cut it out. I just had a play with placement and, you know, I really wanted it around the edge of the tray. That was the original idea, so I stuck to it. And oh my gosh. And as for fonts, I actually can't remember what font I used, but I typed into Cricut Design Space Gothic fonts, and this was pretty much at the top, and it just was perfect for this tray. Once I had it down, I peeled back the transfer tape, and job was a good one. As I was peeling it back, I did still think it needed a little something. It was gorgeous as is. It really is to me. This is, again, I love it. Gorgeous as is. However, I just felt like it needed a little something, and I felt like it had to be on her. So we're going to go with some UV resin and red glitter. This is the Heyyyyyy red glitter, not sponsored. It's just my favorite red glitter. I am going to put that in some UV resin, and put it in some of the areas on the vinyl. Now, first up, to give me a nice red base. Now, I don't really think I needed to do this, to be honest. I decided to use some of my PBO red acrylic paint and just paint in her lips using a paintbrush. And then I decided to paint both of her fingernails because they do kind of get lost in the skull detail on there. So I decided to paint in the red nails. I figured that would make it super pop. I'll be honest, I made such a mess here. It took me about 10 minutes to clean up with cotton buds. So I just think if you're doing this, avoid that step because the red glitter in the UV resin will probably be enough as it's going on to a white vinyl anyway. So yeah, I didn't think ahead. It's already going on to white vinyl and that would have made it pop. So I really didn't need the red paint underneath. I decided to attack these immediately with my UV light just to make sure that they don't move, they don't come away from the areas of which I want them to be, and just sat my UV light on there for 5 minutes. This is the Let's Resin double-sided light, which comes apart and you can use both parts singularly. Then I decided, oh, we've got to do the rose. Now she has got, I think, 2 or 3 flowers in her hair. She is, of course, that kind of Mexican style skull face. Absolutely love it. So of course you could add colour in there. You could make her face quite colourful around the details of her eyes and her nose. However, I just felt like I didn't want to go that far. I just wanted to keep it simple. A little bit of red, and that is what I did. I used the same method. I used a cocktail stick to add in some of that UV resin with red glitter, and I was sporadically kind of sporadically, go me Claire, big word, putting my UV light over there to prevent that UV resin from spreading out. Now, luckily, that vinyl actually did a really great job of creating a wall for the UV resin. It didn't actually want to go past the vinyl, which was quite a result. But again, it's intricate. It's very, very detailed. So I just used my cocktail stick to get into those teeny little spaces and hit it with my UV light before it even had a chance to get its passport and travel out of there. So yeah, just if you do this, just know that it can travel, but it was quite good. It was well behaved for me. Once we were done on that, I decided to call it a day on adding any colour. I just felt like that was enough for me. We've got left, right and centre a little pop of that red, and I just felt like it brought the tray to life. I'm loving that rose right now. I'm loving it. I could have added more. I could have done all of the flowers. I just didn't want to overkill it. Excuse the pun. Sorry, I'm hilarious. I'm really not. Sorry, guys. Then it was time to top coat. Now I'm using the crystal clear epoxy resin from Let's Resin, but here's the thing, my craft room was freezing. Like, it is freezing right here, right now in the UK, as it is in most of the Northern Hemisphere. So it did get quite a few bubbles when I mixed it up, and that is because it was cold. Ideally, you really want to put it in a hot bath, and that will minimize all bubbles. So what I do here is I mix it thoroughly for 5 minutes, make sure part A and B are mixed. Then I pour just a little bit onto the center of my tray. At this point, I'm using a heat gun to heat that resin really hot. Not too hot, we don't want to burn it. We don't want exothermic reactions. But that resin is really warm at this point. So now when I pour more resin into the center of the tray, it's gonna get hit by that heat and it's gonna automatically blow its own bubbles out, which is exactly what we want. And then I filled up the tray. Now, admittedly, I didn't actually make enough, so I did go off camera, make a bit more, fill it up, and I filled it up to get a nice little dome. This is 24 hours later, and oh my goodness me, the finish on this is next level elite shiny wow surface. Like, I put that same cover over the top. That cover was perfect. It's got all of the holes all around the edge, and it hasn't just got that little bit at the top. You know, those microwave food covers sometimes have the clip at the top. It's got holes all the way around the edge instead, and it worked a dream. Not a single bit of dust got in there. Absolutely love it. Honestly, one of my favourites. Now, one of my favourites that could also quite happily pass as a Halloween piece as well. but I cannot wait to give this to Tim. He's going to love it. And I know he will use it as a wall hanging. So at some point I need to maybe screw some chain in there so he can hang it on his wall in his man cave. 100% right up his street and totally my aesthetic as well. So very, very different for Valentine's. We're going down the darker side, but wow, that resin, the black epoxy resin, it was a dream to work with. And honestly, like I said, you could use it as a black background for anything. It would be absolutely stunning in a resin table that was just a black background with a ton of stunning flowers on top, flowers and leaves. And I think this might be my way forward, because if you guys remember, I did get the tabletop mold from Let's Resin like a year ago, and I still haven't used it because the ideas are plenty and it's kind of like overwhelming what you can do with this table mold. Equally, I don't have the capacity to make 10 tables, so I want to get it right first time, and I think this resin might just be my answer to do a black background. And because I love leaves and botanical, I think that's the route I'm going to go down. So of course I will save that for later in the year when I do spring or botanical kind of themed videos. But yeah, perfect, absolutely perfect. I hope you have loved this one. I hope you love the vinyl cut. It's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, I know, but it's mine. So I hope you love it too, and I will see you all in the next video, which will be a bit more cutesy than this one. Bye.